Welcome to Tinfoil and Table Flips, a podcast about Guild Wars 2, where we talk about theories and tantalizing topics of the week. Our guests play daily in the Guild Wars 2 guild at GameBreakerNation.com. Say hello to Jim,
Hi, everybody.
Roy,
Hola.
Aaron,
Hey guys, how's it going?
and I am your host, Jonathan. Hello to you all. Last week we kind of gave a brief intro, but now that we have Jim back, we're going to quickly give ours again, just in case there's anybody new. I saw a couple people new in chat, so hello and welcome to them first, and welcome back to everybody that's continued to join us. I guess I'll go first. I am the GM of the Guild Wars 2 guild at GameBreaker Nation. We do a lot of fun things. Personally, for me, I'm mostly an MMO player of a recent, but anything really medieval, I've always liked since basically childhood. So you can always catch me there, or at any like comic nerdy video game thing. I'll probably hop in there once or twice, but by no means am I an expert on that kind of stuff. Roy, can you give us a little brief recap of yourself?
Yep. I am the Director of Internal Affairs for GameBreaker Nation. Was an officer for Guild Wars 2 in GameBreaker Nation. I've been playing Guild Wars 1 since inception, basically. Its release. I look at things in gaming more from a business aspect than I do a lot of other people, so I tend to get some weirder ideas on things and why companies are doing what they're doing. So other than that, I play every night with all you guys, so if you want to see us, come on by.
Aaron, would you like to go next?
Yeah, so my name's Aaron Heath. I'm the event planner for GBN, GameBreaker Nation, and Guild Wars 2. Basically, I help Jim and John plan stuff for the guild to do on a weekly basis and on a monthly basis. My two favorite games of all time are Guild Wars 1 and Baldur's Gate, and Guild Wars 2 has been good to me.
Jim, tell us about yourself.
Got into, I guess you could say, serious gaming when I moved out of my mother's house for high school to go to college, and I actually had internet that wasn't dial-up, so played a lot of Warcraft, a lot of EVE Online. Had Guild Wars 1, and I'll admit I didn't get to play a great deal of it because I really didn't have a group of friends to play with, and I'm friends with one of the writers for GameBreaker TV, and she told me about GameBreaker Nation, so I figured the only game I really had at the time that I could hop into was Guild Wars 2, so now I'm one of the officer council for the Guild Wars 2 guild, and like Aaron said, it's me and him and Deo planning the events and everything for keeping everything going in the Guild Wars 2 guild, and I play a lot of Guild Wars 2, a lot of Minecraft, and a bit of League every now and then, so League of Legends, so nice to talk to you all.
See, it's just that simple to join GameBreaker Nation. So if you haven't already, go do it.
Let anybody
GameBreakerNation.com. What were you going to say, Roy?
said they let anybody in, just come on by.
All right, let's start off with basically NCSoft is giving out report cards. Their NCSoft quarterly returns. Roy, would you like to talk more about it?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Their returns, their earnings reports came back. We picked up the feed off of Reddit, and just to give you some ideas, right now we're looking at a 6%, 7% loss quarter over quarter, 20% loss year over year as far as decreased sales. Excuse me. That doesn't mean we're doing badly. They still generated sales of $1.8 million quarterly. Just keep in mind that decreasing sales can mean decreasing profits, but if costs are maintained, the profits could be actually increasing relative to the income. So it's not necessarily a bad thing to see see sales decreasing, especially on a game that's 2 years old, when box sales aren't that big of an issue, and they're looking to continue profits off of the store. Most of the store stuff we've seen recently is a lot of returned items, so there's not a lot of extra work that's been done, and they're still selling them at a good clip, I would think. So the only thing that people worry about when they see decreasing sales is when do we have to worry about them closing servers? Well, when they're generating $1.8 million quarterly, it's not going to be anytime soon. The business idea of having to shut something down is when you want to shift your money to increase your profits. So basically, when your percent profit or your percent sales is dropping below a prevailing interest rate, that's when you're going to see somebody in a business go, we could shift our money out and make more money this way. So, in retail gross sales expectations are roughly 10% increases annually. Most of the time, if you're making less than 10%, you're losing money as far as your profit level is concerned. So, if if you continue to see a decent percentage of decreases, there's probably going to be some changes made. There's definitely going to be some there's going to be some pressures put on the company on a day-to-day operation basis, because they're going to want to stop these losses. So they're talking about seeing pushes on marketing, changes in the way that they're going to be delivering content. There's been a word from the officials that there might be something coming out bigger than what we've been getting in the biweekly releases. So kind of keep an eye on it, guys. This is where the rubber's hitting the road. We're seeing decreases in sales. They're going to be pushing to try to increase them somehow.
Well, yeah, and everything that you're saying, you can see they actually have a chart with it where it actually shows like well, I mean, I think from all the other quarters, you can see like Lineage was always the big income for them. So
Right,
I don't think
Lineage
it's
is
anybody
their
surprising
basis.
that's been watching it, but I think it's still surprising that it is such a fairly old game compared to all the other ones. But I think
that's kind of I was going to say, for NCSoft though, that's kind of like their WoW. When that came out, it was a competitor to WoW, and people, particularly in Korea, had jumped that game big time.
The people who are there are
really
going
highly
to stay
invested
there.
in it. Yeah, so the people in it are going to stay there. They're going to spend the money, and I believe it's still a subscription model. And I found it interesting, though, that Aeon is their second leading product right now. Between Aeon is their larger, brings in more money for them than I think just about everybody else except for Guild Wars.
No,
And
I think
stays
Aeon
steady. I mean,
brings
it's
more in than Guild Wars does.
but I
I
think
think
what's
you meant Lineage
important.
one.
But I think what's important to note is, after 2 years, Guild Wars 2 is still a $50 game, which a lot of games don't stay at that price point for 2 years out. Wooden Potatoes made that, and I just didn't made that in one of his latest videos, and I didn't even realize that till now. And I was like, yeah, they've had sales and all that stuff, and maybe people are waiting around for those sales, and maybe that's where they've taken a hit. But I mean, it's still base price is a $50 game, which is surprising for a 2-year-old game. So
yeah, that's
the
my
other
view on it. Is it's a 2-year-old game. It's like profit decreases are expected after 2 years. What can you do?
Yeah.
People will stop buying the game. It's just how it is. I think.
Well,
I think they'll be fine.
I was going to say the interesting number on this is sales by regions. If you look at that listing on that sheet, they don't have a listing specifically for China. And what they've done is China doesn't the China box sales do not go straight to NCSoft. They're actually, the box sales go through their distributor. What NCSoft gets is a royalty payment from the distributor in China. So if you look at third quarter of 13, they had about 9,800 won sale. They're coming back for royalty. This year in fourth quarter, they had almost 4 times that at 32,000. I'm sorry, that's 32 billion won, and 9.8 billion won the prior year. So there has been an increase in their sales that you can actually see for China in that. Unfortunately, it's not as much as they were expecting. So they're falling behind on their expectations of what China was providing them as far as an income. So that's going to also be another interesting play and an interesting thing to watch, as to how they're going to handle China and the China income relative to what they're going to do in the West.
And there was made mention of one sentence in the conference call of, the game is now 2 years old, and therefore in the not too far future, we do think that we will have an opportunity to show our plans about expansion packs for this game.
They use the E word.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but
I mean,
that's a pretty wishy-washy statement when it comes to a
Yeah.
business. There's a lot of qualifiers in there. Not too far future. Think that we, have an opportunity. This isn't saying there's definitely something coming out. This is sounding like there isn't anything even been in. Well, this doesn't even sound like they have anything in the pipeline yet. This is just telling you that, hey, we might have an option. We have an option to do an expansion, and it might be down the line. So for a business statement, that's extremely nebulous. We know that we can do this. We just don't know when and how we're going to.
well, I mean, it seems like they have a plan B in mind type thing. They have a plan that they haven't
Oh yeah,
implemented yet.
well
So it's definitely gonna be interesting to hear what it is.
We knew they had a plan B as of the second quarter or third quarter after release, because they had said something about an expansion in that, which they backpedaled hard on that one when that one came out, because they had said something over the phone conference call about an expansion, and the next thing you know, it was like 24 hours they were backpedaling that to say, well, we don't know when we're going to do it, we don't know how we're going to do it, but we do have that option. So again, I'd like to see, I think a lot of people would like to see an expansion, particularly if it releases something like a race or a new profession or new maps and quantity. But I still, even with this statement here, I don't see where they're even got a plan for it yet. It's something I think that they're in negotiations for.
Well, Jim, you said you were going to try to say you were going to boil it down even further or something.
We might do something soon.
Okay, yeah, that's
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and keep in mind, this is a statement coming from the publisher, not ArenaNet itself. So they're not as.
No, this is straight from ArenaNet, or this is straight from NCSoft rather. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's from NCSoft. It's not from ArenaNet. So what NCSoft thinks of as an expansion, ArenaNet might interpret as, more living story more often or something like that. It's expansion doesn't mean expansion.
You want people to die up the street from you, don't you?
Expansion will only mean expansion when
I think Guild Wars 2 will never do a hard expansion. They're too against it, and I don't think they'll do it.
I mean, and I'd love to explore that idea. Like, I mean, what if they did in Guild Wars 1 they had bonus mission packs that you could buy? Because it's interesting to say expansion packs in the sense of maybe they're so business oriented out of touch type thing, they're still calling it expansion packs instead of like now everybody just calls them expansions. Like I haven't seen someone use the word pack in since like the first couple expansions of games.
Well, it's funny that you talk about the bonus missions. With the new way they structured the new living story, they kind of have it set up for that, where you can, they can develop like major events in Tyria into, tiny little extra chapter packs that you can buy for, 200 gems a chapter, just like they have now, that it's not going to be something that you get for logging on. So there's the method for getting your bonus missions. And there's a method for them, trying to get additional revenue. It's like, oh yeah, this story, I like the idea of this event in Tyria. I'm going to buy that. I just hope they don't, go too far down the rabbit hole with that.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think that they've tapped into the living story capabilities hard enough yet. I think we've still got another 6 to 8 months before we see what living story can actually do. You have to remember that at the end, at the 6-month mark, this was a new item and concept for them, and it took them 4 or 5 more months to get it into place. And then at the same time they were doing that and trying to build this new content in this manner, they were also trying to build out the client for China. So a lot of what we've seen so far up until this release, I would say, is actually underrepresenting what they can do. This series of releases, I think, is closer to the quality and the amount that we're going to see on a bi-weekly release. And as things consolidate towards this, I personally think in this case of a year's time from now, we're going to see probably a full expansion packs,
Worth of content?
content be released by next year this time. I just, but again, people have such a wide idea of what can be released in an expansion that it's hard to nail down unless somebody writes down what everybody's expecting. An expansion can be 2 or 3 maps in the course of 2 years, or it can be 20 maps in the course of 2 years, depending on how they want to break their content up. So, it's really kind of a moving, it's everybody's moving target. It's not enough, it's too much. It's not enough, it's too much kind of argument that can be made about about this. But if they put it in the box, it makes it a difference.
Well, and I mean, we're talking about expansions now. Should we do like everybody's kind of like wish list? Because I see in chat, professions, also twice a week and new patch every day. I mean, if you think about it, if they start doing that, we could start measuring how much work's going on by Colin Johansson's smile starts slowly drooping down his face, because I don't think he'd be able to keep his smile going.
The smile will never falter. It will never falter.
It's owned by ArenaNet. He turns it on during the interviews.
The only thing that
makes him the Joker at that point, don't you?
Yeah, that kind of does, doesn't it? So who wants to go first?
Yeah, who wants to give out their wish list for an expansion?
New race.
The expansion.
New race. That's all I want. New race and new maps.
Yeah, I'd say the maps and all that, and most of the content can be taken care of through the weekly. But I'd like to see a new race.
New weapon type, maybe.
New weapon type, maybe skills related to the weapon type.
But I mean, as far as new profession, doubtful. It's too hard to balance.
And that was actually interesting, because I mean, we've always had the dev saying, no, we're not going to do any new professions. Though Arena likes to be tricky like that, and in guild the other night, one of our guildies actually said, well, technically, ritualists and all of them aren't new professions. And
they're new to Guild Wars 2.
But they don't ever specify that. And I could see my mind, like, as he said that, I was like, he's right. And my mind just went blown. Like,
they're not new.
They don't have to make new professions. Yeah. They don't have to bring back or bring new professions in. They just have to bring old professions from the old game in.
Personally,
I've
been thinking about it, and the thought is, it's Assassin, Ritualist, Dervish, and Paragon for the factions and Nightfall campaigns.
Yeah, which
Assassin is pretty well represented in a lot of the thief skills right now, and then
there's
Ritualist.
Go ahead.
There's bits of the Ritualist. I think I didn't get to play a Ritualist all that much in Guild Wars 1 when I messed around with the factions campaign, but there's qualities of it in the Necromancer, and then both Paragon and Dervish have elements represented in both Warriors and Guardians.
Ritualists are a lot in the Guardian also with
the spirit
summoned
weapons.
Yeah.
Well, Rituals got smeared around too, because I'm sitting here figuring because of turrets and stuff, Rituals wound up in.
Because there were some rooted things too. Yeah, but what I'm thinking is that really for them to add more, if people wanted more like professions, I mean, all they'd really have to do is either add a new weapon type, 2 or 3 or 4 or 80 or whatever they want to do, add a bunch of new utility skills to the current professions we have, and then even you have Guardians A, B, and C are even further removed from each other because they've already shown that they can add new traits whenever they feel like it with the Grandmaster traits after the feature pack. So they can add new traits at any of the tiers. They can add new utility skills because they've done that during the previous Living Story as well. Honestly, I'd love to see the elite skills expanded upon a little more, but
oh god, we need more of those so bad. I'm so sick of the elites.
I mean,
oh my god.
Don't you like being the elementalists and having like one elite?
There's going to be new legendaries too. That's always been their plan.
Well, I think we'll see legendary armor before we'll see another set of weapon legendaries. But yeah, more legendaries they've said are in the works.
Well, kind of on that idea of legend, like the other thing that's been floating around was if there is an expansion, people want to see a level cap, and we've probably talked about this a lot before, out like on in game. What are your guys' opinions about raising a level cap?
There's no real reason to do so.
No,
Yeah, don't do that.
I wish they would do away with it completely or go back to 20.
Yeah, we
It's
don't even
kinda-
really need levels in the game, so what's the point of raising the cap? That's just silly.
Yeah, I hated they put level caps in to start with. There was no need for them. It
Well,
was
we
there
can't very
to
well-
attract people from other games.
We can't really go back without them going over a lot of systems and revising them.
Oh, I know, yeah, but
And
still,
honestly,
you know,
the larger numbers allows for a little better granularity on scaling everything. So
Yeah.
the difference, it means that, the difference between 15 and 16 in Guild Wars 1, I'm assuming was a little bit different from, 15 and 16 in Guild Wars 2. So there
well,
was
really,
that.
in Guild Wars 1, the difference really was from 0 to 20. Everything else was such a fine. There was no difference, other than what you could use at a given level. And even then, you could use anything. You just had you were just penalized for using something larger than what you could actually physically use. It would decrease the damage of it. That's all.
Right. Yeah, and the only thing, you still continue to level. You still continue to gain skill points. So the only
and even in this game, at level 80, you're still leveling. Every time you ding, you get a skill point.
And it's just it's gotten to
it's
the
the
point
same.
where it's your actual level is really just something that says you are this far through, I guess you could say, learning the difficulty curve of the game. And then once you hit 80, you have
Pretty much. Yeah.
all of this stuff. So
Yeah,
But-
I mean that's what I liked about Guild Wars 1 was, you went from 1 to 20. Like honestly, I don't mind that it was 1 to 80, whatever that main, whatever you want to call it, grind playthrough was. But I hate how if they would increase it, and granted they didn't in Guild Wars 1, they just expected more from their players with the newer like the other content, which is what I want to see them do with Guild Wars 2. I mean, what do you guys think on that? Like, they want to expect more from their players, say, get better at your profession or start using interrupts or, confusion or timing things.
having stuff that requires more skill in general, I can agree with that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and that's I think where they're going with the raids. That whole concept we talked about last week was really it's and if they do it correctly in such a way that people can learn from what they're doing, I think that'd be wonderful. Not have you walk in and you got to worry about 16 things on the to worry about all at once on the first encounter. Have 2 or 3 things to learn and you figure that out and you move on. Next one, those 2 or 3 things plus 3 or 4 things, and they've done a really good job with it in the Silverwastes. I really like a lot of what they've done in there. I think that's what they're using that for, is to actually test that, use it as a test bed for what they're trying to do.
The attitude in chat seems that a lot of people are wanting traditional WoW style vertical progression expansion type stuff. And what I just want to remind you is Guild Wars 2 is trying to deviate from that style of content release. That's exactly the thing they don't want to do. They've stated that from the beginning. So if that's the kind of content you're looking for, Guild Wars 2 might not be the game to wait for it on, because it's not coming. They won't raise the level cap. They won't put out a ton of expansions. They're not going to do that.
And that's
They'll figure out a different way for horizontal progression to be implemented.
We've talked about it. This is one of the things that came up when we talked about this, on our nights when we're just running around doing random stuff. Raising the level cap, suddenly you have eternity. You spent all the time, or, you made the money and you bought and or created eternity. You've got one of the most recognizable legendaries in the game, because I see it everywhere. But your level cap raises, and guess what? You have a level 80 legendary, and the level cap is now 90.
Well, and some people I've seen on forums say all those get carried over to level 90, but then I have the other argument of, so they're saying, hey, this new content came out. you can't use this for another 10 levels, or it's going to be a blanket thing where, I mean, in Guild Wars 1 and in other MMOs, you're not required to buy the expansion if you want to play the new content, but you still have to deal with the changes in the world. If you don't buy the expansion or however they're implementing it, oh hey, your legendary's level 90 now. I didn't buy the expansion. Yeah, you might want to go do that. Like,
Yeah.
That-
Level cap increase it's a bad way. Like, Guild Wars 2 has stated that they're interested in horizontal progression, not vertical progression. And level cap increases vertical progression in its purest form. So that's why I think they'll never do it. It's not going to happen. And it would be bad for the game. Because like Roy said, levels are kind of stupid in the game anyway. So a level cap increase just makes 0 sense.
and I mean, Rory was talking about earlier, Silverwastes. We definitely want to hit upon that. And Aaron, do you want to talk about what's been going on with Silverwastes and what's happened over the week?
Well, Dale, I've been getting a lot of money in the Silverwastes.
You've been making it
Wait,
rain.
but not anymore because they fixed it. Yeah, there was a super OP chest farm in the Silverwastes where you could open bandit chests in the southwest region near Amber Sandfall, the fortress. And what was wrong with it was the spawn rate of the chest was glitched, so you could spawn the chest a lot faster than they were intended to be spawned.
Spawn rate of the chests were too damn high.
Yes, the rate was too damn high. But but yeah, so people were over farming these chests, me included. I love that farm, but I knew it was going to get nerfed. I was like, I'm going to capitalize on this now while I can because this is going away. And sure enough, they nerfed it, and the zone's kind of dead now. It's not dead. There's people there, but the population's significantly gone down because they nerfed that farm.
Well,
But
I honestly feel it's turned into what all the bi-weekly stories have happened. Like the first week, everybody's in there. Second week, you get a couple more people. Now, if it's like a time-gated like achievement or something, then you'll probably see a pickup like maybe the weekend before or the night before the patch or something, because people are trying to get it before the next stuff.
mhm.
So I think it's just back to normal, which, yeah, that's the one thing I see that's wrong. The only thing that I see that's wrong with the bi-weekly updates is the first week is when you want to go out there and get all your stuff. The second week, it just kind of dies down. And
But it's the same. It's the same with expansions, though. Like,
Yeah.
so it's just an inevitable cycle. It's not something you can change. People will play the content when it comes out, then they'll get bored of it. It's MMO. It's an MMO player ADD. It's present in all of us. It's just more severe with expansions, which is why I feel they shouldn't go with them. But yeah, Silverwaste was broken. It's not broken anymore. Hooray!
And that's why I always laugh when people are like, "We want more permanent content." It's like, didn't you ever play any other game? It's like, no one really goes back and runs those things after a certain point. It becomes a barren wasteland, and it's like, yes, the option's still there, but it's like maybe it's one of those things you don't appreciate it till it's gone type thing. And
To be honest, I kind of like the design of the Silverwaste. It's kind of, I don't want to say World v. World like, because my World v. World experience is stand in a Zerg and buff everyone around me as my guardian, and I didn't really get into any of the strategy of it because I was just following commander tags at the time. But I mean, you've got a point to defend, you've got supplies to defend, to get to the fort, to get upgrades, cannons, arrow carts, oil pots, stuff like that. And I think it's kind of sad that people dropped out of the zone so sharply because the easy farm is gone. I mean, to be honest, I was not really in the Silverwaste while the bug was active, and I still made a ton of money and materials out of it in the 2 hours I spent in it. And that was before I didn't have any bandit keys on me. Just doing the events, I made a ton of money out of it. So
yeah. Actually, Silverwaste is kind of an interesting throwback because I've played around in it enough to kind of get an idea of how it works. But doing some research on it and trying to see where people are at it, it's actually like the Queen's Pavilion, in that if everybody does what they're supposed to do in splits and covers everything, it takes about 5 minutes to 10 minutes to actually do the whole event and recycle it. and get it to go again. So if people would actually do the events, and in between the events hunt the chest, it's much more productive than trying to either zerg through it and do it, or just hunt the chest down. So, you know, that was kind of like one of those things in the forums. They were talking about it being too easy, is that because the splits work so well, it's actually very quick to cycle it. Did you guys find that, or is that something somebody didn't?
I mean,
Oh
I'm
no,
sure
it's
the numbers.
a very rapidly moving event course. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure the numbers would say if you're out there just solely farming the chest and not worrying about the events, you're gonna get a bigger payout. Now, you might be sacrificing some entertainment because, I mean, you're bending down and picking, watching a bar fill.
That's
over
kind of
and
the
over.
that's the question I had with this. Why did this farm happen? I've got some things put down that I came to mind with, but my thing is, was this really another one of those things that was badly designed from the start? And how did they miss that? I mean, to me, it seems like you should get to my way of doing something. If they want people to do the events and the meta, the rewards from the events and the meta should be, far and above the better reward for the system. Yet everybody's running the chest because the chests are more rewarding in and of themselves. So where did they go wrong on this?
I mean, personally, and this is one of the issues I've seen where they say the Silverwastes were too easy. The one was when you applied the buff basically to, there was like 3 hours, but it got used once you killed one of the final bosses. You would get it whether you won or lost. I thought originally it was only when you actually defeated them, but then one time we actually failed, and I was like, oh, darn, and then all of a sudden I saw it pop in, and I'm like, where did I get this? Like, so I'm a little disappointed in that, and that might have increased like the longevity of it if it required people to actually beat the boss. But I could understand later on when it dies down, maybe if you do lose, you can still get this stuff later on. But I wish they would have maybe patched that in later. I mean, what do you guys think about that? Or
one of the main things that makes it it's not broken, certainly not, but what makes the chest so much more rewarding than, for instance, dry top is the keys are cheaper. You can find the chests all the time, so you don't have to wait for sandstorms, and you have a tool in the shovel that will lead you directly to a chest. It basically guarantees you a chest. And so those three things make the chests infinitely easier to find, and they give the same rewards as the dry top chests, which just makes it a better zone to farm. The great thing about farming the chests, running around and getting them, is you can tag the events as you go. It won't take you any more time to tag the events as you go. So if you're just running around and getting chests without tagging events, you're probably not going to end up with enough badges to buy more keys, like at least to buy the same amount of keys you started with. But if you do tag events, you'll actually have a surplus of badges. So it's advantageous to do both, in my opinion.
Which I suppose would technically be the design of the zone, is you've got, your events where you actually get to use your abilities instead of, like I think Deo was saying earlier, or John was saying earlier, that, you're watching a bar fill. You watch a green line go across the ground, and then you go over to a pile of dirt and you watch a bar fill, you've got a chest. Well, doing the event, you actually get to use your abilities. You get to, combat, because, you're playing a game. So I would assume that you're playing a game because you actually want to do something with it instead of just, look at stuff in an inventory. And then, you move on. You get your badges, you buy more keys, you buy more shovels, you get more loot. And just in general, you spend go through a lot of time, and, that's what a game is supposed to be. I mean, I guess it just gets back to me being confused with people just, abandoning it because something that was broken was fixed. Excuse my rambling.
From what I see from Chad, apparently everybody's liking the idea of the silky sand. Maybe for an event to
Oh,
help with
love
the
it.
I think they're
defenses.
hating it, actually.
Yeah, I know. I'm going with it here. But maybe for the defenses, like there's a event where you actually have to make sandbags. That way you can get rid of your silky sand. It'll be a nice silky sand dump for right there, and it'll help you protect the bases longer. So there you go,
Now,
Arena.
with the silky
That
sand,
one's
is that
for
the only
free.
way to get the fossilized insect parts, or can you get those out of chests?
You can only get those in dry top chests. That's the only place
Okay.
you get them. Screw those fossilized insects, by the way. I hate those.
Now, the other thing with Silverwastes that came out that I had seen was because of the way people were farming those chests. Now that's going to change because they've nerfed that farm, but they had the problem of basically some maps were being used just to farm chests, and then other maps were being used just to work the meta. And if you were in the wrong one wanting to do the wrong thing, it became a player interaction that was not very positive. And my question in this comes in now, I know, in Guild Wars 1, we worked it out really well during the holidays and stuff where we had, if you wanted the Dwayne ears or the Grant ears during Christmas, you just went to the right map. It was either odds or evens. In this game, we don't have that possibility. So what was going on was people using looking for group, the LFG tool, to pick a map to go to and get ferried in. If you didn't know that, which is a lot of people in the game, I mean, a lot of people don't use that tool, it became a problem because people want to finish the meta, but they were on a map that was working on digging up the chests. So, I guess the thing I'm trying to get to, in a roundabout way is, should people be expected to be able to, or should people expect to use that tool to get the content they want? And how should people get the word out that that's how that's going to be, the way to get into it?
Well, actually, when you were saying that, do they by any chance talk about it anywhere in the new player experience that they brought out? Because, like you're saying, should they be required to use it to get the stuff the content they want? That is exactly why it's there. So you can find groups for dungeons, so you can find open world, so you can find. So
Yeah.
I would easily say yes, that you should be using that if you want to find a specific thing.
Here's my thing on that. Yeah, if you're looking for an open world group, that's one thing. But what you're doing is an open world group is taking over a map to do something on that map. Now,
Well,
again, we've done that before in Guild Wars 1. Is that something we want to have happen in Guild Wars 2?
You can't stop the populace of a map from doing what they want to do. That's the whole point of an MMO, is to work together towards a common goal. If the people on that map wanted to farm chests, why can't they farm chests? Like, that's fine. I don't have a problem with it.
Well, because it's interfering with the people that want to do the meta.
But it would be a different story
That's
if
the
they
problem.
are.
These are two things that are diametrically opposed. You could either chase the chest or you could do the meta.
You could say the people wanting to do the meta are interfering with the chest farmers, though. It goes both ways.
But the meta is, again, we go back to the meta is what the game is about. The chests are the min-maxer's response to what's been put into the mix.
Well, you could argue that making gold is what the game's about. Since a legendary.
Well, the same thing could be the same thing could be said for any of the champ trains that people get upset about and have been put out of the game
and
for.
And that's what I wanted to say
because they interfere with people.
And that's what I want to say. It instantly becomes something where have people been like poisonous to other people. I haven't really seen it, and I've been in ones where I was like the only one defending a fort, and yeah, someone in chat saying, use the looking for group thing to do the meta, which, yeah, that's what I was trying to say before. Like, it goes both ways, and that's what that tool's there for. Now, have ArenaNet done, let the people know with their new player experience. Maybe they say, hey, you see this tab on your friends list? Click it. This is, and explain, like, these are open world category. This is this, this is this. So, I mean, have they implemented that? I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think so, because I really
I
want
don't
to
think it's a new player experience.
Yeah, I was gonna say I really wanted to try the new player experience again. Unfortunately, I've played all the characters.
I have no desire to.
Oh, okay.
I'll admit,
Sounds
I've been
like an
leveling
awful
new
experience.
characters, and I haven't seen anything about the LFG tool. But then again, I probably have been glossing over the information as it comes up because I already know it. So
I like how someone in chat pointed out that what me and Roy were discussing had become a well you could say off. That's philosophy for you, my friend. That is
What
the
does it all
premise
mean?
of philosophy.
This
In
comes
the end,
down
aren't
to
we
there
all
aren't
just
these-
silky sand? I mean, if you think about it.
aren't we all just
if you
yes?
think about it.
Silky
My-
star
my-
sand.
My
Life would be
overall
simpler if I
problem
was
with this
silky sand.
is my overall problem with this is, again, we're on a 2-week, or they say a 2-week cadence. We're designing large pieces of product, or large pieces of content, and with each piece of content, there seems to be something in it that causes problems for the community. It sets people off against each other, and this is why I keep coming back to they have a basic design idea for this game, and it seems every time they come out with something, it appears that they inadvertently break that. They set parts of the community off against each other. Sometimes it's obvious in the gameplay itself. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's some weird thing that somebody finds. This time it seemed to be something that somebody found, and it caused a lot of problems for people. They need to take some extra time before they start this stuff and to figure out what can be broken and how they can prevent it.
Well, they do,
and they just don't seem to do that sometimes.
They do. I mean, but the only problem is there's the age-old programming maxim of there's no test environment like live, and they're only they're only internal. Their internal testing. I mean, they don't have a PBE. They don't have a PTR. It's when it gets released, and the public sees it. They only have their internal testing, so that's a small pool. You're releasing it to the world now, to the biggest pool possible, and any MMO market has shown that whenever the players find something that they can exploit, push, take advantage of, they'll do it. Because, I mean, you're playing the game to get ahead. You're doing it to get loot, to get money, to get prestige. In Guild Wars 2, you're doing it to get skins, achievements, what have you. They're going to exploit it. But it's the little things that they miss, and they don't. And I guess it comes from possibly a way of thinking like maybe people could possibly work together. It's like, oh, hey, this map is farming chests. Maybe I can do these events that are sitting right here next to me and help the people who are trying to do the meta just in my little area right here.
Yeah. Well, this goes back to the beta. Beta, it was shown that they needed to. They showed them that they had to put the price of materials at the merchant price so people wouldn't undercut the merchant and walk to the merchant and sell it for a profit. Yet they didn't change that. So that's why we have this problem this is 2 years out, and we still have the problem in the store with all these underbid items that we can't do anything with. That was, to me, that's lesson learned. You have to be proactive and understand what your community is going to do, not think what it's going to do. And it just seems that every time they design content, they go with the hope that people will do the right thing, and they don't. So at what point do you want to institute change? At what point do you stop thinking you do the same thing and have a different outcome? And that's my whole issue on the design thing. Is it just seems that they hope for the best and don't expect the worst.
Well, what's right and wrong though? Like going back to the Silverwastes thing, the chest farming versus completing the events and killing the bosses, is farming an area wrong? I don't think so. I believe they put the chests there to farm them if you want to.
Right, that's the problem. It's not wrong because they put the chests there in the situation. First off, they put the chests in a way that doesn't reward everybody the same. Some places had fewer chests, some places had more chests. So
it's all dependent on how many people are there, though. At least it was when it was broken.
Okay, because
Because players
my
pop the
understanding
chests
was they only had so many chests available here, and then at one of the other camps there was actually more chests. It didn't scale with people. It was just how fast that they'll regenerate, I guess. But it seemed like they had some kind of a problem with that. Then the fact that they had the regeneration rates on them so fast was really the problem.
Well, and that wasn't working as intended, though. That was an accident on ArenaNet's part.
Which, to be fair, they patched out fairly quickly. Which
they fixed it. Yeah, they did.
ArenaNet is pretty damn quick to fix anything that crops up.
It took them a few days, but yeah, they did fix it.
I was gonna say, didn't it happen like right around the second week?
Yeah, I was gonna say I got my money's worth before they patched
like
that.
you got like 1 week of farming, which I would argue. I mean, yes, it is fast, but in a 2-week cadence, that's 50% of that time that's probably going to be played, unless they reuse it, which it possibly could look like.
Technically 2 weeks.
It halved the price of T5 mats on the trading post in the time it was active.
Really?
Yeah, they went down from about 3 silver to silver and a half. I think one dude got 1,000 bags from it. It was insane.
Yeah, and to go back to what you were asking, if the intent of a game is to play the content, and you can farm the content as it's intended to be played, I don't care. It's when they put something in that isn't part of the content. I don't consider those chests part of the content. Those are a bonus that if you happen to have a shovel, you get, or if you're in dry top when you have a chance to find them.
They're interactable in the game, though. Doesn't that make them content?
They're content in that sense, but they're not content where it's the quest lines. It's the things that you're supposed to do.
I think what we're trying to say is it's gambling, right? It's gambling.
No. It's the difference between doing quests for rewards and not having to do requests for rewards. If you can bypass all the quests and get more rewards than doing the quests, guess what's going to happen? You're not going to play the game. You're just going to go after the shinies.
Well, a game's always going to have its optimal farm, but not everyone plays the optimal farm because eventually you're going to have to do the game content. The farm is to get.
But again, playing the content, the quest part of it to get the rewards, I don't have a problem with. I love to farm. Guild Wars 1, there were places you could go to farm, but you had to play the content to do it. You didn't have to just run around with a bunch of shovels and find chests.
But you got to do the event to get the shovels. You can't buy the shovels.
Well, you could buy the shovels. No, you can buy the shovels at the.
You'd have to have bandit crests to get the shovels. Which
the only
already have bandit crests from the events. So
you do have a point though, in that the chests give you a significant amount of bandit crests, and so theoretically the farm funds itself, whereas that's a problem. And I kind of disagreed with the fact that the chests give you so much bandit crests. I think they should take the crests out of the chests. But other than that, I don't have a problem with the chests. But you are right in that obviously there was a problem with how they implemented it in Amber Sandfall because that was broken.
Well, I mean, any final thoughts on that? Because I know a couple of us are itching to get to like lore and stuff to talk about that, and I definitely want to leave time for that. So,
Silky Sand, it's awesome.
Yes. More Silky Sand next patch, right?
Yeah.
I think everybody agrees. No
full inventories for everybody.
Silky Sand.
Yeah, can you make it only stack to one?
That way when we get down. I mean,
All right, let's talk about Guildmag did a lore interview. I believe it was November 10th. James, would you want to talk more about it?
It's a nice little interview going over, everything the aftermath of the attack on Prosperity, things that with Belinda's family. A wonderful picture of Farron, looking distressed at a Speedo. But I'm honestly, it's a lot of information that is nice. It's cool to know, but it's it's not really giving us anything. Like they talk about how Marjorie.
It's nothing we couldn't have inferred, really.
Well, we
Not
didn't
much of
know
it's
that
very enlightening.
Marjorie had 2 surviving sisters with their own families, possibly children, and then her parents who are estranged. I don't know.
Well, I
if
kind of
we're
like
gonna
the
get
idea that
into
they
it.
went over
It'd
the
be cool, but
yeah, I like the idea they went over who owns what within a Surin when they're in school, and how they explain
yeah,
that. So
I didn't like
Flunt's
that.
not as big a Flunt as we think he is.
Yes, he is.
Well, I mean, part of it is that he is a Flunt, though. Because they say that
yeah,
that's
so
the
you
rule,
got to
but
remember
also
anybody
Flunt
that's
likes it.
well, where Flunt went wrong was he put his name on it, but they look at the anybody in school is that makes anything is similar to doing something in a business. If you make something for a business in a business while you're working for the business owns it regardless of how it relates to that business. So I kind of like that clarification. That was really nice. That kind of let me know, hey, it's kind of a way of life, but at the same time, he did overstep his bounds some.
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean, in the
Lord
Mordor,
Baron part
I
of
don't
the
know. What do they? The only other one out of the whole thing is I want to know what they're talking with the Mordrum. All they let us know is they come out of the ground. They don't tell us if it's from a seed, if it's part of the dragon. It's so apparently it's not anything that's local to the area. So it's not a corruption idea.
To be honest, I'm thinking it's something like, for any of the StarCraft fans in the room, it's something similar to Nidus Canals, where for the Zerg in StarCraft, they were basically giant worms that were living tunnels. So I'm going to guess that wherever the roots, the vines of Mordremoth grow, when they get thick enough, they're able to open up a tunnel, and then Mordrum can basically travel in a straight line to anywhere in Tyria.
Wait, so
And
you're saying
above the ground.
the AI is going to be Zerg too now? ArenaNet, you're going the wrong way. Go back. Don't make the AI Zerg as well.
Don't you love Zerg v Zerg, though?
Well, to be fair,
That'd be great.
the armies of the dragons have always been Zergs. I mean, we haven't really run into a small numbered, highly intelligent dragon army. But there are operatives. There are and they talked about the mouths and eyes of Zaitan. They were the intelligent ones. They were the ones given free will and the ability. Well, not necessarily free will, but they could still think, and they could go around and do what was needed to forward the will of Zaitan. But the majority of a dragon's army are mindless fodder minions.
I think the dragons have the will to make their minions stronger as they see fit, like create stronger, more intelligent minions here and there as they want to. Like you see in the Battle of Fort Trinity in the personal story, you have 4 undead mesmers that actually infiltrate your area disguised as Vigil. That's pretty clever, So they were obviously better. They were more intelligent undead as opposed to the other ones. And like you said, with the mouth of Zaitan and the eye of Zaitan.
Well, yeah, and there were scouts in the personal story you had that were in Lion's Arch. So there are intelligent, thinking ones that can report back. And that's why I've always kind of made the comparison between the Pale Tree and what she does. Because, I mean, when they come out of their dream, he basically, here's your orders. Like, this is what you need to complete.
Which is your name?
Yeah, which is basically what they do. It's just we don't get to hear that part. So, I mean, I've always suspected, and it seems like it's going down that road. Who knows? I mean,
now there's a lot of people. I was good.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to shift gears here again into this article. Was anybody surprised at the response of ArenaNet about the Pale Tree's avatar? Because a lot of people in the community that talked about it, like on the forums and in Reddit, really had a different idea of what the avatar really was and what it represented. This explanation makes perfect sense to me, but I always knew that.
I think a lot of people thought that the avatar was the Pale Tree, and so that's why they asked that question. But I mean, to us, I think it made perfect sense, right?
Well, yeah, she's a projection of a giant sentient, incredibly magically powerful tree.
Yeah.
So I understand how they were going into, people are like, well, if the avatar of the tree is just, a projection, why were the menders going to the avatar instead of just looking all over the tree for the injuries? Well, it almost seems like the avatar itself may be an illusion used to interact with more humanoid entities. It still is, an example of health, like ArenaNet said in the article. It's, I guess, would almost unconsciously or subconsciously behave like a Sylvari would. So the menders can look at the avatar, and if the avatar is exhibiting a problem, they can use that and extrapolate that into a problem that is with the tree. So it's something that makes sense. I mean, I don't see it as a contrivance or any kind of stretch of, or leap of logic in, the world of Tyrion.
And this isn't the first avatar we've dealt with. I mean, in Guild Wars 1, you've had the avatars of all the gods.
And the avatar
And
of Glint
they
in
weren't
Dragnar's Forge.
literally them. They were just manifestations that represented like so they could talk with the humans, at least in Guild Wars 1. And in this case, all the races. So, yeah, I'm a little surprised that, I mean, maybe they just did it for clarification.
Yeah, that's what I think it was for,
Yeah,
is for clarification from the community.
Yeah, because like I said, the problem that they had with this originally was there were so many people who were confused by it. I'm glad to see that they had cleared up any confusion with it, but it also was like it kind of caught me off guard that there was any confusion about it to start with, because they were like, well, it's a ghost, it's not a ghost, it's this, it's that. It's like, okay, so cool, here's what it really is. This is why they're doing it, and I think it should clear up most of the issues people had with it. But I thought it was kind of an interesting bit of confusion on the lore, because I think we all understood what was going on. We make these assumptions that everybody else does, and it's like, you can't really make those assumptions.
Oh, yeah, that brings me actually to one more thing that was important that was mentioned in the article is Guildmag asks ArenaNet how Mordremoth corrupted Aaron from the air, and they respond with, it's only conjecture that Mordremoth corrupted Aaron. And so I like that they clarified that that's not completely set in stone yet. It kind of leaves it open.
Which, based on, when we move on to the clip for the week, I really find it interesting now that they've opened the door that he could have actually been working for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It just leaves the door open for a myriad other possibilities, which is smart of them.
Yep.
What would that would be? What, the White Mantle? Would that be them coming back? I'm trying to remember.
Knows,
like I said,
I mean,
no, he's working for Countess Anise, guys.
Oh yeah, because you think she's evil. I keep forgetting.
Yeah, she's gonna be the big bad guy at the end.
I
thought she was going to be Livia, who ends up being Traherne, who is now Cormyr. Who? How does your theory go?
I wasn't gonna say that part. I was I didn't want to blow chat's mind too much,
Yeah.
Too late. The cat's out of the bag.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think this is a perfect
segue
to move. I think this is a perfect segue to move fully into like our lore discussion, since that was more about what Guildmag got to say to ArenaNet and ask questions and try to pull information from. So at this time, if you're going to try to avoid spoilers, this is probably a good time to stop. But if you continue, stay here. Cool. We will be talking in a second. Otherwise, thanks for coming out. If you would like to talk with us, head on over to GameBreakerNation.com, sign on up. Not just the Guild Wars 2 guild, we have many assortment of games. World of Warcraft just came out with Warlords of Draenor. Go out and see them. Final Fantasy, Elder Scrolls Online, Minecraft Community, and then there's tons of games that we're not even like officially there with. Like, we play loads of games, so just head on over, check us out, just start chatting with us. So, all right, let's move into lore discussion. Last week, as per usual, we run out of time. And I think we were about to hit like the idea of Silverwastes, the structures in there, and all the things that are going on with that. So, Aaron, do you want to expand on that?
Yeah, so I'm sure you guys were all kind of annoyed last week because we didn't talk about the Silverwastes at all. So we're going to play a little catch-up. Basically, you have all these structures dotting the Silverwastes, and nobody knows who built them. They're these mysterious buildings that are just there. They're the forts we defend. There's other ruins all over the place. There's kind of a Parthenon-like area up by where there's a dead giant. But the question is who built these. It doesn't say definitively. If you go through the map, there's little bits of things you can read throughout the structures, and they give hints as to who might have inhabited them at one point, but not who could have built them. And obviously there's a plethora of possibilities. You could have the White Mantle built them, you could have the Mersat built them, you could have the Druids built them. I think the least likely of those is the Druids, because the Druids were very in tune with nature and very much one with the forest, so I don't think they would build these unnatural man-made structures in it. But Mersat, definite possibility. Asura, definite possibility. White Mantle, definite possibility. Well, what do you guys think?
Well, Guild Wars 1, some of these structures were there, and they never cleared it up as to who built them. And I'm pretty sure they predated the White Mantle.
Where were these structures in Guild Wars 1?
Oh Lord, I knew you were going to ask. They're down. They're in the Maguma area. All I remember is they were in the Maguma area, but
the ones that are in the
wastelands. What's that?
No, I think I know what you're talking about, and I don't think they're the same thing. The there's like cliffs that surround every one of the Guild Wars 1 maps, and built into them in the Maguma in some places are these little square houses. They look like slums, and they just
look like pueblos.
Yeah, and I agree with you that they could have been built by the same people, definitely, but I don't know that they're the same.
My thing is they're not the Parthenon kind of build that we've got, but they're on the outskirts of what would be a bigger city.
Yeah.
So we're actually moved into. I don't think we've been to this part of the map before. If we have, it would have been
Ettenbach / Tangleroot, I think, or Silverwood. Hence its name.
And the question, Silverwood was where they be. But
I think Silverwood was a little farther west than where we are now, but it's near Ettenbach, I think.
So these things have actually been built in the last 250 years, because I don't remember seeing the Parthenon. I remember the Pueblo stuff, being built into walls. I don't remember seeing anything of the major temple structures that we have.
Yeah, which leads to the possibility: A, they were at a part of the map we didn't get to in Guild Wars 1, or B, they've been built in the 250 years since Guild Wars 1, which would lead me to believe the White Mantle
check this for next week, because.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it could very well make sense, because if there are sandstorms that are happening in dry tops, it could be weathered very quickly over time. So it could very well have been built in between the two. We don't know when sandstorms are happening in dry top, and if for some reason they might have been happening in Silverwastes. Like I said, this is just me really trying to piece it together, but it could have been weathered between that time frame, or aged more so.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I wanted to point out about the Amber Sandfall Castle, I think it is, there's a scrap of parchment in there that it's some blueprints, and it basically written underneath the blueprints. The blueprints are basically buildings very similar to the ones we see in the Silverwaste map, and beneath these blueprints it's written New Kryta. And we know that New Kryta is something the White Mantle are seeking to establish elsewhere in the world. And so I was wondering if that could signify that either the White Mantle are trying to copy this structure design in their New Kryta, or that they built these in an attempt to form New Kryta there, and then were then driven out by the Mordrum. They're both possibilities.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it was, I really hope we go to see the White Mantle, and it actually made me go back to Guild Wars 1 and play the bonus mission pack with Saul. And it's interesting that they don't kill him. They take him away, so you gotta keep that in mind. And I mean, if the Mersat are able to transfer the power like they did in Guild Wars 1 on that one quest, does that do they take over that person's essence kind of like the gods? I know I like to compare the Mersat and the gods all the time, but I mean, does this give them the ability for eternal life through that body? Would Saul, because maybe they kept him on the back burner just because Saul is seen to the White Mantle as a hero that they'll probably follow no matter what, and probably no matter what time. So what if they brought back Saul and they're like, you know, our person of Lion's Arch is back. Like, let's follow him to the ends of the earth. Let's do whatever.
Well,
But
keep in mind, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's a big charade, though. At the end of that mission, Saul is actually, after he sees the destruction the Mersat wreak on the rest of his followers, he's like, oh my god, you guys totally aren't cool. I'm not following you anymore.
But he's...
And that's why they abduct him.
Yeah, they
because
took
he
him for
loses
his
faith.
silence. But for him, for everybody else, they see Saul as the hero, the savior, the champion of Lion's Arch, the White Mantle. But he knows deep down that he has basically doomed his followers to these.
I guess what I'm wondering is why would the Mersat keep him alive at all? But I mean, we don't know how the Mersat's minds work, so
Yeah, true. I just
and they definitely might want him as like a puppet to use to rally people. So I could definitely see that actually happening. So that's a good point.
Especially
I do have a quick question to pick your brains on Guild Wars 1 lore and then go into speculation on what's come out in the living story. The Mersat, what were they working against? Like, what were they trying to do?
They were actually
They're
trying
a bunch of cowards.
They're trying to prevent the Flameseeker prophecies from coming true, which was Glint's prophecy of their race's downfall and the release of the Titans onto the world.
Okay.
That's the Mersat's ultimate goal. And
now, you were talking something about the Mersat taking over people's bodies?
In Eye of the North, there was one quest where there was the last remaining Mersat that we know of put his essence basically into what was it, four White Mantle guys, maybe 5, I don't know. So and you just basically had to go there and kill he wanted you to kill them, I believe, but you work out a deal. But basically, in the end, you fight off the Mersat. And it's interesting, and that's why I think it's always going to be on the back burner. He basically swears revenge on you, even if it takes many generations, which, 250 years.
Do they, do the Mersat...
The Hounds of Balthazar.
Yeah, the Hounds of Balthazar are active. Do they retain their sense of self when they basically body snatch someone? Because at this point in time, I'm remembering one of the books in the special collections talking about how the gods are not necessarily divine entities, but just beings of unimaginable power. So what if the gods minus Cormier are actually really, 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 really old Mersat?
I mean,
I've been trying to say.
I certainly won't discount it as it's no more crazy than any of my theories.
I mean, this is just me spitballing here, going off of what you guys have said from Guild Wars.
See, we don't fully know just because we haven't seen a Mersat fully put all their power into a human. Like I said, in that quest, he spread his out to like 4 or 5 different ones. In the case of, maybe they knew if it was in the case of like what happened with Cormier, maybe it does take over that person like fully. And
have you guys looked at, if you go up there to Malcor's Leap, have you looked at the statue of Dwayna that was made by Malcor?
It's crazy. It's crazy looking. It's not what I would say is, the beauteous face of Dwayna.
And isn't that interesting? To kind of take off on what you were saying, James. He tried to capture their beauty and the truth that's in them and couldn't, driving himself crazy. What if he was? And the problem was the illusion that he was looking at was nowhere near what the truth was. And the truth drove him crazy. And to get back to it, that, I'm not saying it's a statue of the Mersat, but it's a statue of something that's not what we consider the gods to be.
Mm-hmm.
Because to me that, if you want to see what the gods really are, look and see what that, try to figure out what that statue is And that's really what the gods are. It wasn't that Malcor was such a bad artist. It was that he was such a great artist that he could see through the illusion that was being presented, and it drove him crazy.
Which is a great segue into Rytlock with the blindfold. Let's talk about that, because we never talked about it last week. Why is Rytlock
Go
blind?
for it, because I'm still dealing with the Hounds of Balthazar. So
Why is Rytlock blind? Could it possibly have been because he saw the gods? Who knows? No, but that's a theory of some people that's been kind of circulating around the community about why Rytlock might be blind, because it's stated in the lore that that's one of the reasons Malcor went blind, because he had to look at the gods to sculpt them. And so what if while he was in the mist, Rytlock, they're both so badass, they're almost the same person. But so what if Rytlock actually encountered the human gods, looked upon them, and that's why he's now blind, because he actually saw face to face the human gods in the mist.
Abaddon could have ate him.
Abaddon likes to feast on eyes. This is true. He might have eaten.
Well, actually, it would be Cormyr.
I
You're
don't
saying
know
Cormyr
if
has
she
the
shares
dark
the
side.
same penchant for eyes. She might be a little bitter about that.
he's trying to get him mad.
You never know.
Maybe Cormyr wanted her eyes back and stole his.
Yeah. The like.
What if she made a trade? You
With
give
who?
me your eyes, I give you what you want.
Yeah, maybe he comes
Would
back
he
with
do
those
that?
swords and he's like, that's all it took. She just wanted him, and I gave him up. Anything for the char.
Luckily, I brought these ones along. I could just give them to her. Like I don't know.
My life for the char. Nope, only my eyes. But, at first, when I saw the picture of Rytlock with the blindfold, I was like, oh, the theories are endless. And then when I really started to speculate, I was like, well, there's not really much to go on. A lot of people are like, ritualists. Guys, no. It has nothing to do with ritualists at
Well,
all.
I mean, we're talking about the teaser image. I definitely want to, since we didn't get to that one last week that much, I definitely want to hit upon the teaser image that they gave us this week that shows the Master of Peace holding an egg that says, I have something I can no longer protect.
It's bigger than him now, so he's got to give it up to somebody.
Well, he had it in a
It's
backpack.
before.
Find a
No,
really
this is
big
a
griffin.
backpack.
Maybe he's getting on an airplane and, he can't fit it through as a carry-on. You don't want to risk that thing getting lost.
Well, well, then he's either going on a packed ship because the Zephyrite don't have their ships anymore. So who's he checking baggage with? Anyway, joke's
Well, I
over.
mean, I think he's on
Can't
foot
look
right
at
now,
the
isn't he? He's just traipsing through the woods like, I gotta
Yeah,
get this thing
he's-
somewhere.
He is going somewhere because he said at the end of the living story that he had a place that he was going. He has a specific destination.
Yeah.
And judging by the background of that image, there's a lot of vines wherever he is right now. So I don't
Yeah.
think he's there yet.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that I have something I can no longer protect. So I just thought it was interesting that he would use that specific phrasing.
I definitely. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go for
I
it.
was saying I definitely liked Wooden Potato speculated about the egg, and what if the Skritt over there, as they're gathering up, we know they become more intelligent. That is the ultimate shiny. And as soon as I heard him say that, I was like, that would make sense. And what if they became so intelligent that they captured the masterpiece? And
That would make me so happy. I hope they do a weird, disturbing Skritt sacrificial ceremony and just murder him. And it's really creepy, but we get to
Oh,
watch it in the
jeez.
cutscene. I want it.
Well, that
I want
actually
it to
ties
happen.
back into the Guild Mag interview where
They're,
Arena
chanting.
said that the Skritt that are in the Silverwastes are just kind of weird.
Yeah, they're bonkers. That's why they
true,
left.
they are dancing around a dead troll's corpse, I believe. Was it?
It's a dead legendary giant.
Oh
Or,
yeah,
well, not
legendary
but
giant.
It's a
yeah.
dead Cyclops giant. These guys are bananas. So who knows?
Well,
what they're
we
gonna
are
do.
getting.
My
Oh, go
question
ahead.
is this. My question with this whole picture is this. This guy was willing to risk everybody on all his ships to save this. why did he realize he can't protect it now? And did it make all those people sacrifice a waste in the long run?
I would
Could he have
think
done something? Yeah, should he have done something different than what they did? In other words, rather than try to get it to where they were going, maybe they should have turned it in before.
Well, what I'm thinking is that it's not so much a sacrifice of everybody that crashed, because basically protecting this egg became the Zephyrite's mission.
Well, I
Like,
don't think
this-
they meant to crash.
Yeah, they didn't mean to
That
crash.
was on
so
purpose.
that, but the fact, like, if every single one of them would have known that, hey, you're going to do this, and your ship is going to crash, and a lot of them are going to die, or a lot of you are going to die, the Zephyrites would have said, we're trying to fulfill our mission. If that happens, so be it. So
Yeah.
I don't think they would have done anything different. And the Master of Peace has a set goal, and very clearly the rest of the Zephyrite are very focused on making sure he achieves that goal because they all believe in the goal.
Yeah, I think what he's saying with that statement is I've tried as hard as I can and I'm about to fail. Like I need help, basically, is what he's saying with that statement. And that's where we come in. We're probably
we
going to go
just-
after him with the Zephyrite, find him and help him along his way.
Can
Of
we
course he
just see
could
the
be evil.
master? Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying he could be evil too.
Well, I was gonna say,
Throwing
can
him
we
out.
just see the Master of Peace and Ogden together and have a Blues Brothers reference? Because they're be like, we're on a mission from a dragon, and they just say that the whole time.
Oh,
Come
and suddenly
on,
they're in black suits and sunglasses.
I'm there.
that'd be amazing. Come on, Arena, put it in, please. And then they just start throwing silky sand at you. It comes all together. It makes sense
I
somehow.
just want to roll around in silky sand. It's silky.
Exactly.
I
Maybe
don't know.
they'll
I kind of like the chat. Somebody in chat suggested that, when we finally down Kralkatorrik, we get 20 stacks of silky sand.
Best loot. Dude, best
loot
price.
ever.
10 out of 10 on the patch.
Well, there will
Perfect.
be an option to loot the corpse or shake him a little bit, and all the sand will come out.
Press F to shake, Kralkatorrik.
Yes. Yep. Okay, I think that kind of wraps up. I mean, we would love to talk
Ramble
more
on
about
about
lore,
lore forever.
of course, but
mean,
we
there-
are running. What?
I mean, we could just, I don't know, go over the new trailer really quick.
All right, we can go really quick about it. 'Cause there
Basically,
isn't that
there's a,
much. It's only a minute long.
yeah, there's a dragon boss. Long story short, that's probably the main thing in the trailer. So there's going to be a new dragon boss next patch.
And it definitely shows
Well, there's
players running
something
down
else, though.
paths. It does show players running down paths with people speculated where at the end of the Silverwastes there's what looks like 3 paths. So it might be a new.
Well, I think a whole underground cave network has been data mined for the Silverwaste map, so I'm pretty sure that's where we're going to be going with
Mhm.
that. Which is a cool
Well,
idea.
the other part of that we found interesting, John and me, we couldn't figure out was the it looks like there's one of the Zephyrite casting a spell, and the spell symbol.
Yeah, it's
was,
Super Saiyan aspect power.
It
That's
was
what that is.
bugging the crap out of me.
Yeah.
It just reminded me of like a spell that was cast somewhere in
And we
Guild
went
Wars
through,
1 or
we
Guild
ripped
Wars
out
2.
about a bunch of old Guild Wars 1 characters just to check spell animations, and we couldn't find it. But it
don't
was
think it has anything
reminiscent
to
of
do
a lot
with
of
Guild Wars
the.
1. I think it has to do with the aspects because it's a cloud and lightning coming out. I think it's.
Well, but I could
Right,
definitely see a
particular
more
to the
crude
aspect.
version of it. But like I said, now we're gonna start going like, no, we must stay on track. We have a time.
Yeah. Twitter questions.
Yeah, we have Twitter questions. So
Watch the trailer though; it was really good.
yeah. First up, which do you think is most likely to been seen first in Guild Wars 2, Cantha or Alona? Why?
Alona.
Oh,
It'll be
Alona straight
Alona.
out of the gate.
Yeah, it's
Alona?
gonna be Alona.
Yeah.
It's closer. It's connected by landmass. It doesn't have a water dragon in the way. It's just Kralkatorrik. He's no big deal.
And out of those two options, yes, Alona, but we have come to realize that the world is a much bigger place. We might not even go there for a long time, but possibly Alona, I would say first, just on the same basis of it seems like we're really playing with the idea of the Crystal Dragon, or, Kralkatorrik,
Mhm.
which is residing in the Crystal Desert, which is just a hop, skip, and a jump away from Alona and all that stuff. So I could definitely see that more likely.
Yeah, definitely Alona.
Yeah, and I think they're still fighting with the idea behind Cantha of, real world issues with it. So
Well, and if we went to Cantha, we would be fighting people. We wouldn't be fighting like bad guys or anything. We'd just simply be fighting
Right.
the Canthan regime. So whereas there's actual conflict in Alona that needs to be resolved, like Palo Joko. So I think it'd make a lot more sense to go to Alona.
yeah, I'd like to see where Palawa Joko is going to fall in on all the dragon stuff.
Well, and
Probably
if
does.
magic has returned to the world, does that mean if death magic has returned, it explains to Quaddle, has Palo Joko become more powerful?
Exactly.
Oh
Since
wow, we
I
start
think
seeing them
died in
bust
that.
down the gate and moving into. Oh yeah.
Yeah, what
I
if
can
we
see,
what if we
yeah.
finally open the gate? He just stand there like, I took care of Kralkatork.
I
I'm
want to
coming
team up
for
with him
you.
again. I love me some Palo Joko. Okay. I want to be his friend again because he was the coolest guy.
Yeah, but I
Yeah,
could just see him like we're walking by Ebenhawk Gate there and just hear boom, boom. I'm here. Hello.
Yeah. What if
he
he
wouldn't
comes,
do
what
that.
if he brings Alona to us? That would be awesome.
He wouldn't
That's
do that.
what
He'd
I'm
come out
thinking.
of the
That'd be
gate with
great.
a sandworm, just like, hello. I'm
Just
back,
rise up and
I
Boys.
think they're going to go there. I think they're going to bring it to us.
Anyway, I think we had another Twitter question.
I believe so. All right. So 3 days until we probably see what is in the box labeled November 18th in the German Priory archives. What do you think is in there?
Silky sand. just a bunch of it.
I don't know if there's going to be
chest is
anything in there. I
labeled?
think all those dates were just going to be important dates around these releases for us. So because there was October 31st for Halloween. There was the date for the first release of this. I think they're just advertising the releases. Would it be wonderful if they stuck something down there we go and get? Yeah, I'd be there. What would it be?
Silky sand.
I don't know. You know, they pulled
Clearly.
an hourglass with, you know, Glint's lair in it out of
I was
their
gonna say.
cookies. What are they going to?
Or it's the Staff of the Mists. It's not going to be that. Guys.
Well, I mean, jeez. My Hound's Balthazar cooldown is just, I must be procking or something.
He
or
hacked,
something
he
like
hacked
that.
the game, clearly.
But yeah, I mean, we're supposedly, it seems like we're getting the handoff of the egg, possibly, or something. What if it has something to do with like maybe a way to get to the Crystal Desert?
I mean, yeah, that would be amazing. I want it so bad. Crystal Desert. It's the #1 place I've wanted to go since launch. Please give it to me.
And to be fair,
Don't make that into a meme, please.
please make it into a meme.
Oh, God.
But to be fair, the Staff of the Mist could achieve that.
I know.
It could, so
It
what
could
if
be
it
the
does have
Deus
a
Ex
Staff?
Machina we're looking for. Unfortunately, it was thrown into a pit, never to be seen again.
Or so we think.
Exactly.
Stuff just randomly vanishes when we just leave it behind.
Well,
That's what they want you to think.
what if it's the staff from what's his name there that Livia had?
Scepter of War. Well, I'm assuming Livia still has the
Scepter of War?
even if she's
Yeah.
not wielding it. I mean, why
What?
would you give such
you
a thing
think
up?
Livia's still alive?
Oh yeah,
She was a lich, like right before the, in the last book. I mean,
was it confirmed that she was actually a lich, or is that
or
just
no,
a
she was
theory?
just there, but I don't know if it was actual.
I
but I
think it's just a theory that's going around that she's a lich. I don't know if that was
Yeah.
confirmed.
What if she sent it? Hey, here you go. What if she sent it to the German priority for safekeeping?
I don't think she would do that. She doesn't trust anyone. Livia is the most untrusting character, except maybe the Master of Whispers that the story's ever had.
I think the Master of Whispers is in the box.
I like it.
I would hope not.
Have we turned him into a cheap novelty item? A Jura in the box?
No, I want Master of Whispers back. He takes it. He's like,
Turns out he's a vampire. He's just like, I have awakened.
Yeah. no, he's like, I've been a lich the whole time. I'm a necromancer. Duh.
Oh, new race, vampires. There you go.
No,
Oh God, no. Please.
their race will be they could sparkle. Oh man. I mean, I think that's all of our Twitter questions. Is there anything from chat that people would like us to answer or speculate on more so, or?
Someone
Yeah.
mentioned the Anise is Livia theory. It's
Yeah, it was
it's been
you.
around. We're all aware.
Yeah,
was you.
I don't. I'm honestly gonna say I really hope Anise doesn't end up being evil. I really hope
Well,
so.
Livia's not evil, but I don't want her to end up being
Livia's
Livia.
not evil. She's
because
just very
Well,
motivated.
I
like-
like them
like I
both
said
as separate
before, like-
characters.
You guys know my Guild Wars 1 knowledge isn't all that great, so I'm really not sure who Livia is. But just the more I listen to you guys, that fills in the blanks. But I know that
Livia's a
there
true
is-
neutral character for sure,
yeah.
if not
But
chaotic neutral.
It's just I've seen a lot of stuff thrown around about Anise maybe being evil, and I'm like I really hope Anise isn't evil.
And because I don't want them to end up being the same person, because I like Anise as Anise, and I like Livia as Livia, and I want them to both be characters that I can enjoy.
Things I learned: Anise might actually be Queen Jenna, because Mesmers.
Okay, well, let's have a final thought on what do you think they're going to be two separate people or one the same or
Who can tell?
okay. Roy B.
She doesn't like talking about her age.
Well, okay. What about you, Jim?
I'm sorry, what was that? I had to mute my mic.
Oh, basically, what's your final verdict on? Do you think it's going to be like Anise is going to be Livia or Livia is going to be Anise? Are they going to be one the same or are they going to be separate people?
Separate people. Just completely
Yeah,
different.
I definitely think separate people. So hopefully we're right. I'm reading it. Let us know. Call us. I don't know how, but good luck with that. But sadly, we are going to have to wrap up here. So I would like to thank everybody for coming out today. I'd like to thank the guests for showing up.
Yeah, it was great.
Oh yeah, always have fun.
Do it again next week.
Aaron,
And that time.
indeed. Aaron, where can they find you on the internet?
You can find me at aformermonk.wordpress.com if you like reading about Guild Wars stuff. I write Guild Wars stories there, and I'm at Guild Wars Monk on Twitter.
Roy, where can you be found on the internet?
I'm at Roby62 at the Twitters and on YouTube at Schadenfreude Productions.
Jim, where can they find you?
I can be found at Malthanis MMO on Twitter, and I can also be found in Guild Wars 2 playing with GameBreaker Nation and on the GameBreaker Nation forums.
As can we all.
Well, thanks for stealing the part of the outro there.
All right.
But you can find me at on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, simply_Deo. I'm definitely trying to do more things with it. Fortunately, time's always an issue, as you can see when we do podcasts. But as always, everyone can be found here at the Guild Wars 2 Guild at GameBreakerNation.com. We're not just the Guild Wars 2 Guild. We have Final Fantasy XIV, Elder Scrolls Online, World of Warcraft, League of Legends, a Minecraft community, and outside of that, we just play loads of more games. So head on over, sign on up, join us in Mumble, and chat with us. And as always, we will see you in the game.
See you next week, guys.
Have a good one, guys.
Arrivederci, y'all.
Bye.